Can I start? Yeah, okay, I see the live stream.
Yes, that's good. Go ahead. So I'll be sort of more of a mute, and I've
Okay.
already gone through training. So over to you, Dan, all yours.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me again. I think I see all of you for the first time here, right? I mean, you didn't join the last training, did you? Yeah? Okay,
Yeah,
well,
that was
that's even
America's.
better. Except for yourself, of course. Okay, well, quick introduction from my end. My name is Diana Robertson. I am a communication skills trainer, public speaking trainer, award-winning public speaker, founder of Skills Me Academy, an academy that teaches people how to speak better, TEDx speaker, etc., etc. So, and my role here today is to help you speak better, specifically speak on that event that was mentioned. Now, do I understand correctly that every single one of you will be presenting something on that event? Is that correct? Yeah? Anybody here who is not going to present anything on that event?
I thought this was for MCs. Not for ceremonies.
Well, this is for everyone. It's for MCs. It's, to be honest, like I don't know the details about the event so much. I was brought here just to help you present better.
Diane, everyone here is going to have some form of active involvement in the presentation, and whether it's an MC or a presenter or a meditation lead, that's why we're all here.
Perfect. Well, that's all I wanted to hear from you. Thank you so much. Now, would somebody like to tell me very quickly about that event? I mean, what's that going to be like? Maybe Mitesh, you?
Okay. Yeah, so this event is got a million and one other things going on in the background, but I'll stay focused. This event is a global initiative involving lots of yogis. We're trying to recruit as many yogis as we can to have a collective support in this initiative, where we're trying to get as many seekers to find their realization, get their Kundalini awakened, get into the habit of meditating, some form of a inner seeking. And for this to be successful, we want all hands on deck. We want as many people to become involved. We want it to be a professional thing, and that's why I'm here. We have led meditations in the past, either locally or on Zoom, but it's kind of been a very sort of small thing, and it's been not so professional. Well, it's been professional, it's been sincere, and we have had lots of people from that. But because it's like an integrated thing, we want everyone to be on the same page, and therefore we want it to look professional. And my feeling is the more people that you get involved, yes, the better figure it will be, but there's more chances of little mistakes, mishaps, and problems going on. So that's why we want all of us on the same page.
Yeah, really. Makes sense. Absolutely. Are you one of the organizers then? Or, I mean, you're going to lead one of the sessions, but are you involved in organizing the whole thing as well? Or
yeah, I think Shalini was the main catalyst to bringing it to England.
Nice.
In this format. We've all been meditating, but Shalini was the one that brought the 21-day meditation program to England, and she recruited a few of us, and it's kind of just spiraled from there. I've then been in charge of helping recruit, manage certain timelines, and try to orchestrate the inner organization of it.
All right, perfect. That sounds very exciting. And so is it going to be on Zoom, or is it going to be in person?
It's going to be on Zoom.
On Zoom, okay. So, and how many people are you expecting to be on each session, just roughly, in front of how many people would you be presenting?
Well, if it goes as well as the American program, hopefully 1,000, but that's
1,000 for every session, sorry.
Well, I mean, from the initial stats, they had 1,000 people that came on day one and day two, and then slowly it sort of dropped off to about 300, 400 per session. And to try and keep it intimate, we then developed the breakout rooms where people can have mentoring one-to-one. when you're trying to connect with so many hundreds of people, it's difficult because not everyone connects to the presenter. And
True.
that's why we're bringing variety. We're bringing in young, old, different cultural diversities, so that everyone who joins in can find some level of connection with the people there. And
Mhm.
if they've got many questions that aren't sort of answered, like you can just poke someone on the back in the local meeting and say, look, I just don't understand this. To prevent that type of thing, we're having breakout rooms and mentoring involved in this so that everyone feels included.
Mhm. Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you so much for a wonderful introduction. Now I know what you guys preparing for, and that sounds amazing. That sounds, in fact, that sounds scary a little bit, no? Presenting in front of thousands of people. Does anybody feel like it's a little bit scary, maybe? Or you feel, no, I've presented in front of 10,000 before. I don't know. Has
it is.
anybody presented in front of that number of people in the past, by the way?
Yeah, I think it's quite daunting.
Oh, several. You're very experienced. Well done.
Only a few times. So
Uh-huh.
I didn't know what it was and how many people would be on Zoom, but I was just asked to come and join and present. And when I joined and when I presented, I realized that there are like 200 plus people on the Zoom meeting. So, but I was very calm, and my aim was to lead a meditation session. So I was just like, I didn't think of the numbers.
Okay. All right.
I think
Well,
lots
that's
of people,
good.
lots of people make it much more difficult to see the reactions of individuals,
True.
body language, whether they're getting bored or whatever.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that's difficult. You can't do it really, not with more than sort of 30 people.
Yeah.
I think the videos are always off when a presenter is presenting to avoid these kind of not reactions, but perception from people's faces. So all the video will be off from the IT at that time.
So nobody will be seeing anybody. You'll just be presenting kind of.
But I have to say, Shalini, I've done that. I mean, you can't see people. I find that quite distracting. You can't. You're talking to names or black boards, and I mean, we have to do it, but I have found it not very. It's like talking to an audience in a theatre where there isn't one. They're all.
Yeah.
I think what is important is to already in our heads to take part only when we are comfortable. So either we train ourselves, or if we have done in the past and we have had some, some kind of, objections within our being, then we have to prepare ourselves. Otherwise, there are many yogis who are already doing it online, like much more than I or Mitesh or anybody else like Prasad may have done in the past. So there are other people who are like, compared to me, who have done it much more. It's a matter of really asking oneself whether we are comfortable or not. And that is very important. That's key, I think.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, guys, for sharing everything. Now, you're all different and your experiences are different, of course. So I think the best way to hold the session would probably be kind of to deal with every single of you individually, and so I can help you individually. Now that does mean that some of you will be sitting and waiting for others to go through their turn, but it doesn't mean that you can't learn from them, okay? Because maybe you'll hear something like, oh, that's exactly the mistake I do, that could help me later, okay? I think the way I'm gonna do this is I'm gonna ask all of you to share a certain thing. I'm gonna tell you what it is. I'll give you a tiny bit of time to prepare, and then I would like you to give me your public speech and pretend that we are those thousands of people and you're presenting in front of them, okay? And at the end of it, I'll share with you the different things I noticed and how you can improve them, if there is anything that needs improving, that is, okay? Are you okay with the format? All right. Now, Shalini, not the one with the camera on, but the other Shalini, would it be possible for you to turn the camera on, please? And you're muted right now. Oh, I see, you're outside. Okay. Hi there.
Hello, I'm sorry. Oops. I'm sorry if it was really loud. I just was out but I really wanted to be in the session as well. Yeah, I'm happy to go first so that if it's a bit loud, let me know. I can go into another street.
All right. Okay. So, but I understood you're willing to participate. You're happy to turn the camera on when your turn comes. That's what matters. Well,
Yes.
I'm going to first give a task, and you all will have about 5 minutes to prepare for it. And after that, whoever wants to go first can go first. Okay.
Okay. Oh yeah. Yep.
All right. Okay. So here's the task. I would like all of you to share your experience with yoga. It's up to you how you want to answer this question, but you'll have up to 5 minutes to share your experience. And I would recommend to do it in a form of a story rather than say, oh, I have 10 years of experience in this and in that, and I'm that. Instead of that, maybe you could even try to inspire me with your experience so that I will start considering implementing yoga and adding yoga into my life. Maybe there was a certain thing in the past that you encountered that made you try out certain yoga or meditation. And then you can tell me about the experience, how that impacted your life, and what were the results at the end. So again, it's up to you, but my personal recommendation would be to start somewhere in the past. Tell me about things that were happening in your life. Tell me about how you encountered yoga, how you implemented it into your life, and how it shaped you as a person today, and how it's helping you today. All right. Up to 5 minutes, no more than 5 minutes. A little bit shorter is fine, but not 2-3 sentences. Like that doesn't count. If you do that, I'm going to ask you just to speak for longer. You're going to have to make it up on the spot. All right. Any questions about the exercise? No? All good? All right. Then I'm going to give you 5 minutes in peace. I'm going to turn my camera off. I don't want to disturb you. You'll have 5 minutes. This is your time to prepare. Okay? Go for it. I'm going to set my timer. All right. Well, the time is up. Who here is gonna, if you're ready, and now it doesn't mean you're gonna start first, but if you feel more or less ready, and I don't want your story to be perfect at this point. Now, at this point, all I want is you to know roughly the type of things you can talk about. I don't want you to, have the full script with all the details, okay? Now, who here is at the stage where you know what you can talk about? Please show me your hand. Yeah, okay, everyone, well done, that's amazing. All right, then, who would like to go first? Yeah, okay. Mitesh, just before you go, I'm gonna put the timer up as well, just so we don't go over time. But please don't feel intimidated by it. You can just not look at it if you want. The point here is just so we don't go over time and the session doesn't become too long for everyone. So just give me a second. And you don't have to get it to 5 minutes. It's all right if you don't. Am I sharing my screen right now or not? I am, okay. All right, so if we do that, please go ahead.
Right, so this is my experience with yoga. I come from an Indian background, but I was born and brought up in England. So there was a bit of a mismatch because the assumption was me being an Indian, I would have spirituality oozing out of my pores. However, the reality was different. My parents were economical migrants, so all they cared about was making money. My dad came to England with just £5 in his pocket. So whenever I wanted to learn Sanskrit or Hindi or Gujarati, he would say, hey, Mitesh, stand to attention, speak in English, have good diction, have good gait, stand tall, learn all the English vocabulary, really master the language. And I was like, oh, here my heart is wanting to know my roots. And here you're telling me to go forwards and look towards this country, which of course I should identify with, but there was this disconnect. I felt there was this disconnect. Somehow or another, I was yearning all the while through my school days, through my childhood, to know more about my roots. My parents did go to India, but maybe only twice. And that too, it was a big shopping spree. My dad and my mum used to go because the pound was very strong. So it was like, right, we're going to go to India and we're going to get all the things that you need at like 60 times less than the price that you get in England. So it was more of a kind of a shopping spree that we went to India for. And I always felt in my heart of hearts, if ever I was to be born somewhere, I should have been born in India. Why am I here? These are the types of little confusions that I had all the time. But anyway, I submitted myself to my fate. Anyway, as I was growing up, I had a skin disorder called vitiligo, something that Michael Jackson had, where you had skin pigmentation issues. So I always had an issue with my confidence. I never felt that children would accept me. And when you're younger, you generally tend to feel more amplified. Anyone that looks at you for a little longer than 2 seconds, you think, are they staring at you or are they staring at your skin? So I always had this sort of inferiority complex. And I always used to overanalyze things. And that created a lot of mental, I wouldn't say issues, but a little bit of a paranoia in me. So I was always trying to fit in. Then once I finished my GCSEs, I decided to embark on a journey of self-discovery. And I went to South Africa and I so much enjoyed it. I loved South Africa. I felt liberated. For the first time, I was away from my parents and I was able to do whatever I wanted to do. I came home with a renewed sense of enthusiasm. Like I'd shed a layer. I felt like anew. I wasn't carrying the baggage of the past. And on one of my days, as I was walking in the high street, I came across a very small picture, like a postcard picture on the shop window. And it said, you can't know the meaning of life unless you're connected to it. And that just resonated with me. At the same time, I was learning to drive And as soon as I passed my driving test, I drove all the way to Paravel Station, where the meeting was being held, the room next door. And that's when I encountered yoga. And as soon as I went there, my heart, my mind, my soul all felt completely at home. I felt as if I'd arrived, and I really enjoyed the experience. I went full gusto. I didn't have any of these doubts. I didn't have any of these, well, what is this and how do you do that? I just dived straight in, and I really enjoyed it. Over the years, I encouraged my family and all my friends to join, and they did. And one lifelong rift that my dad had with his uncle got completely healed because I was able to imbibe the practices of yoga, and we got them all together, and we really had such a wonderful time. Then my parents started to realize that what I'm doing must be something powerful if he can really do something for the family. And since then, I haven't looked back. I'm so happy, I'm so settled, and now I want to pass it on to everyone else. And that's why I do yoga. Thank you.
I'm on mute. Wow, that was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. Oh, right on time as well. Perfect. Double points. Mitesh, did you rehearse this in the past, or did you present this a similar story in the past to people?
No, I just did it now. You just asked me to do it now. That's when I did it.
Wow, well, that is super impressive. Have you gone through any public speaking or storytelling training before?
No, I think one of my fortes is that I deal with patients every day, day in, day out for the last 23 years. And one of the things that I have learned to make myself successful in my own private practice is that within the first 3 minutes, you need to build a rapport with people. And then once you've ensued their trust, then you can talk about them, healthcare, various things that you want to talk to them about. So the initial thing is trust. And I guess I've been doing it day in, day out for 23 years, only that one thing. So maybe I didn't realize it, but I've obviously become okay at it.
No, you've done wonderfully, more than okay. I would say you are a natural storyteller. And by the way, everyone, please don't feel intimidated. Your stories don't have to be the same level there. This is serious. I mean, people train to tell stories the way you told today. And I can tell you just a couple of things that professional storytellers use that you use today. You started with sharing your background, and then you immediately mentioned this conflict of interest, like, oh, I am this, but I wanted that, right? Family wanted this, I wanted that. That's a very powerful technique to share. I mean, very often they do it in movies, actually. You also use dialogues in your stories. So you didn't just say, oh, my dad didn't want to do this. No, my dad said, oh, learn English, learn that. That's, again, a very powerful technique, gets people's attention. You kept on talking about those inner conflicts that you kept on facing. And then it's super important that you mentioned your skin condition. That was incredibly, incredibly important, because there you showed to people not only those conflicts inside, but also a bigger issue that you were facing. And that was the issue of confidence. So I think that is like kind of a super important part of the story that cannot be removed at all, because that shows that, okay, you were struggling with confidence. And even at the end, I mean, you came out of the story at a positive end, how everything resolved. You started doing what you wanted, and even your family, with whom you began your story, kind of went back to them, and even your family wasn't just okay, but was happy with what you were doing. So overall, you did a very beautiful story structure there. I mean, a complete story. Seriously, well done, you. Really good. I'm struggling to think what you can improve.
Thank you so much for your feedback.
Yeah. However, I do still have some feedback. Would you like to hear it?
Yes, I would, definitely.
Yeah, sure. It's little things, actually. So in terms of voice, body language, I'm not going to comment on that at all, because I mean, you've aced it. There is nothing to comment on. The way you present, your patient, well, I mean, your well, even I would say your patience, but not just patience, just the way, it's called the pace, your pace is brilliant. I love that. I just wanted to listen to you more and more. You also have a very calm voice, which I personally seriously enjoyed. I'm more of a person who is like, oh, come on, guys, let's do this, let's do that. Yours is the total opposite, but it's absolutely beautiful. So keep on doing that. This is your strength. Things you could improve on specifically in this story is, remember that conflict I mentioned to you, the one about your confidence. I think that in this story, you mentioned it, that you had it, but you didn't actually mention the results of how you built your confidence. You started talking how you belonged in the yoga class and how you really enjoyed it, blah, blah, blah. But it felt like a mention rather than a problem that yoga helped you overcome. I think it's crucial in this story to also mention how much confidence yoga brought you later on, because I'm assuming that's why you brought this up, right?
Yeah, I brought it up because because I only had 5 minutes, I didn't want to then talk about how I improved my confidence, because then there is another whole section of talking about what I needed to do to improve my confidence. I knew time was running out, so I summarized it by saying, because now I had confidence, I was able to help other people. And I did it by one example, which is my family.
Yeah, well, understandable, absolutely. And well done for sticking to the time. But in case you ever tell a similar story in future, you would like to focus on one thing. So maybe you could have even different stories or different stories told differently. One with focus on family and not the confidence so much. One with more focus on the confidence, family not so much. Or maybe somehow you could even merge the two together. And at the end, say how yoga specifically helped you overcome it. Because in the story, you don't mention something that you're not going to refer back to, or that is not connected to the overall thing.
I feel you feel like it was incomplete. You wanted to see my journey of how I overcame the confidence, isn't it?
Specifically the confidence. Everything else, the family thing was complete. The confidence one was not complete. And I feel that in case you ever share this story with people who learn yoga, the confidence part will resonate with more people rather than the family conflicts part.
Totally
because confidence is a bit, I think a lot of people struggle with. And having a skin condition, it's a serious thing that hurts your confidence.
By the way, ever since I joined the yoga, my skin condition cured. I used to look like a cow. I used to have 2 white patches, like a thing here, all around my face. And now my skin glows. I'm much better.
You look amazing. I would never guess you had the condition.
Yeah. I have a little bit just here, but it's okay.
Yeah. But hold on. Oh, okay, in that case, I have to ask you a clarifying question. Apart from the skin condition, the confidence in self, do you feel that yoga helped you with the confidence? I'm not saying improving skin, but let's say if the skin stayed the old way, did it help or did it not?
The yoga definitely helped me in my confidence.
Yeah, okay. In that case, you keep it in the story. Yeah, okay. Okay. And also another thing, I highly recommend you to share this story with people who learn yoga. It's a very inspiring story. I think you should be sharing.
I will do it on one of the days that I'm presenting.
Yeah, perfect. A minor detail I noticed there was the GCSEs. You said, I don't know, is everybody here from UK right now? Joining from UK. Okay, in that case, I'll let you off. But on that event, you can't say GCSEs because most of the world doesn't know what GCSEs. You just say after school or something. Just be mindful of backgrounds of people. But yeah, I think those are the main things, really. You can, if you want, add this kind of call to action after a story and hence I encourage you all to kind of, those of you who want to build confidence to try to meditate more and more, for example, up to you, but it's totally optional. You don't have to say that. It's just some people add those kind of call to actions after the story to make a bigger impact as well. But yeah,
I
anything.
feel I feel in England people don't use their hands so much, and I don't want to be the one that does a lot of hand movement, you know, in the presentation. But if you feel it helps, then I could try.
Oh, I wasn't talking about hands. I was talking about call to. No, I was talking about a phrase. So you share the story, right?
Yeah.
And then you can follow up a story with some sort of call to action or a main message of the story. You can state it again, so it's clear for people what you want them to do. So, for example, so those of you who want, after you share the story, you say, so if you too struggle with your confidence,
Right. Yes.
then I can't recommend you a better tool than yoga or something like that. So it's not a part of a story, but it's an additional sentence you add to the story. So your message is better.
Yeah, it gives it that complete ending, doesn't it? It sort of takes them back to the point where now, if you, after listening to all if you have a similar situation, try this or go here.
Yeah, absolutely. But you make it broad. You don't talk about skin condition, but you talk about confidence in general, which a lot of people struggle with. So you will be covering a lot of people.
Okay, thank you. Right. Great. Thank you so much, Diane.
Well, no, thank you. But while it's still your turn, is there anything that you personally feel you're uncomfortable with, or maybe you have some questions about anything, including hands? I don't know. I'll happy answer them right now.
No, the only thing that was worrying me a little bit, but this is more sort of the thing is, the more I interact with the group of people on Zoom, the more chemistry we develop. And I wanted to create an atmosphere of intuitive chemistry. To say, for example, we're doing presentations and the slides are coming. And then if Shalini and I know each other quite well, and if she were to interject a little bit, because we have been every day, day in, day out discussing this, we have that innate chemistry. So I would like more of us who are going to be presenting to be regularly meeting like this, so I know their style of interrupting me or my style of interrupting them.
So you want to? I'm not clear with what you want. Sorry.
No, it wasn't particularly directed at me. This comment. I was just saying that when it comes to presenting, and to have that sort of fluidity between the presenters who might talk, like it's not going to be a clear cut, oh, now I finished my sentence, now over to you, Prasad. It might be a case of Shalini might want to add a few things, but seamlessly enter my sphere of topic. And I wanted to know if there's any way in which we can do that in a very professional way.
Well, first thing that comes to my mind is to practice delivering a presentation together. So, for example, if there is a presentation or like a speech, both of you are presenting, and you want the idea of like, well, you're happy with the idea that Shalini, for example, adds something to what you say, then I think best thing is to have a practice run with Shalini before the event. And just to see how that works. And very quickly, you kind of learn each other's style. And it will be easier for Shalini to know when you actually stopped, and for you to kind of, well, equally, same thing with Shalini, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and that's why we're trying to encourage us to meet more often like this. Yeah. It
is tricky, though, especially on Zoom. I mean, even me and you just had an incident earlier in the meeting where I started to talk over you, not intentionally. I felt like you finished, but you didn't. Not intentionally, I didn't mean that. So things like that do happen. So you just have to accept that, okay, it's not working. One of you stops talking, the other continues. Just be respectful with each other. Yeah. Anything else?
No, I'm more than happy. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Love your story. You gotta share it now with people. It's your responsibility now.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Well, who would like to go next? Now, after your stories, see, nobody wants to tell their stories. You should have gone last. All right. Okay, Shalini. Shalini, am I pronouncing your name correctly, by the way?
Yeah, Shalini.
Shalini. Okay, Shalini, you go. And I'm gonna just give me a second. I'm gonna turn the timer again.
I think I've sort of lost my confidence a bit. I don't feel like I have the story, but okay, I shouldn't have started with that, but I will. Okay, yeah. Let me know when to start.
Look, forget of what you heard. Focus on you. Focus on your story. It doesn't matter what we're gonna think about you. What matters right now is that you share your honest experience. That's what matters. Right now, I want to know how yoga impacted your life or how it came into your life. Okay, that's all I want to know. Go.
Hi, my name is Shalini, and I would say thinking about how yoga has impacted my life. I mean, it's sort of been part of my life since I was born, and even before, because my parents actually did this yoga, and so they introduced that to me, and I learned from those around me, and I had the opportunity to also go to a school where they taught this yoga as well. And so growing up every day, when you're young, really learning the essence of what yoga was as well, and being in a place full of nature really impacted the way I saw the world. And I was in India actually, and so you really get the sense of that spirituality, and you really get to learn. And then when I came back to Australia, and I went back into regular school and things like that, there were certain aspects, like some of my friends would be like, oh, I've got this problem and this is happening, and I just wanted to sort of share with them about this meditation, because like there were so many different things that they were saying, and I was just sort of saying, oh, if you just maybe sat down and were thoughtless, or got into a state where you could really be in the present, these sort of worries and things could be solved. And then as I got more into like university and things, I studied science and engineering, and it's very interesting to actually put those two things together, that spirituality and really trying to keep yourself into the present versus thinking all the time, being analytical. And it's not to say like that's something that's driven our society up with all this technology and making everyone's lives better and stuff, but there are certain things that sometimes it gets you trapped in your mind. And so I found sometimes I would be worrying about some assignment, worrying about, what's going to happen here, what's going to happen there. And having the ability just to sit down and know these techniques, which are really easy to learn, just to sit down and put your attention at the top of your head and just let go. And that spiraling that your brain takes you through, it just stopped. And I was really surprised. I was like, this is so easy. And it's something like I've seen some other meditations and things, and friends have shared the same thing, but nothing quite like this sort of yoga. I found really does that thing where you can really just be in the present and be in the center and go above the mind. I've tried to find find myself in my mind and self-reflect until I've just felt like it's an abyss of, you cannot go as far. But when I came back to just sitting down and sitting down and really putting the attention at the top of the head and, doing this meditation, even though it was like a short time in the morning or evening, it really, really helped. And it's helped me to this day. And it's just something that I want to share with others, and yeah, I want them to know that, all of this things that are coming in your mind and worrying you, they're not always, they're not, you can get out of it. You don't have to just be stuck there. So yeah, this yoga I've known all my life, and I've been really grateful to learn, and I'm still learning. It's a continuous process. What I learned is that meditation is not so much something for your mental health that you just pick up because today you're feeling bad. It's a lifestyle. And it's something that really, really, improves all the qualities in who you are. And that's what I want to share. Thank you.
Woo! Well done. Please give some encouragement to Shalini. Wow, that was amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And you had 14 seconds more left, so brilliant timing. Thank you. Thank you.
I felt there were some, I got lost a bit, but then I came back.
Yeah, okay. But in general, what are your feelings about this story?
Yeah, it was honest, just coming from, it was a bit general, I think, maybe, but it was honest just coming from some of my experiences and thoughts. There's definitely more, but yeah.
Well, you only had 5 minutes, so
yeah.
okay. Why do you say it was a bit general? What do you mean?
Like, I feel it could be deeper. But like, again, like, a lot of people associate yoga with mental health, but I understand that fact because I've had my own experiences with it, but I do still want to, for me, the key is it's not so much a solution rather than a lifestyle and something you bring into your life to make all of your life better, not only mental health.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So I don't know if I'm really sharing that.
Well, I think it was very clear to me when you said that it's not something to do for, you didn't just say mental health, you also said like kind of occasionally when you feel bad or when you worry.
Yeah.
I think you said something like that.
Yeah.
And then it's more like a lifestyle. Maybe you could have said that lifestyle to kind of, just like you're explaining to me right now, to elevate your entire quality of life, not only on the days when you feel down, for example. So you could have added a bit of that. However, if you do something like that, then you have to explain in your story how it elevated your entire life, not only those moments, for example, at university. So I think here you had more focus on university things. But no, still, overall, personally, I really liked your story. Shalini, well done. It was a beautiful story. I loved your smile. I could really connect with you because you were so honest, so genuine. I mean, I think it was a brilliant story. Thank you so much for sharing it.
Thank you for letting me share it.
So would you like to hear some of my feedback?
Yeah.
Sure. So I'm going to be mixing things that you did well and things that could be improved in chronological, like just according to the story, because I was writing them like that. So in the beginning of the story, you mentioned a bit of your background to do with the yoga, and you said it's just part of your life. Your parents introduced it. Brilliant. But then you mentioned at some point, I was in India, actually. And then you're like, and then I went to Australia. And that made me a bit lost because I don't know you. I don't know your story and your background. So for me, it was super confusing. Are you normally in India? Are you normally in Australia? And why the hell are you in the UK right now?
I got married.
All these questions just made it like, what?
Yeah. So either put them in or explain. If you put them in, explain a bit more, or don't put them in.
True, absolutely. And plus, I mean, in general, it's not a bad idea to put a background in the beginning of the story. It's just, that's how, especially for people who meet you for the first time and you're sharing with them something, not only about yoga, but I mean, a story about something else as well. But this is for the first time, those, let's say, thousands or even maybe 2-3 people are hearing from you. It's very useful for them to share that background, because it kind of just makes them understand you better. Okay, so like, are you from India or not? Where are you from?
Yeah.
So I could have just mentioned that, and that was just made it okay. All right, we got a lady from, where are you from, by the way? Now I'm confused.
Oh, I'm from Australia. Yeah.
You're from Australia.
Yeah.
But your parents, do they have
I'm
any
half-
relation to India, or?
I'm half French and half Australian, but this meditation, like, it started by a woman who is from India, and so she brought this to many people all over the world.
Okay.
And so she also started a school for the kids to, learn meditation and learn the style of meditation from a young age, and sort of bring them up in that sort of style. And so it's actually at the foothills of the Himalayas, so it's really surrounded by nature. You're really in that spirituality, but it's in India, so you like
Understood.
yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
So
All
I
right.
spent a lot of my years at boarding school there, and then went back to Australia.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's worth mentioning, at least the beginning, that you are from Australia and your parents, they introduced you to yoga, but like they're also Australians. I think it's nice for people to understand, because some people will relate that way. It's the opposite of Mitesh's case, where he is from India. So
yeah, I was gonna say,
and like he mentioned, like they expect the spirituality to just come from you, Here you have no relation to India. I mean, you went there, but you don't. And I think that's worth mentioning, just for people to connect with you in the beginning, okay, and to understand. Okay, with going to India, it's up to you. You can include it or not. You decide whether it's necessary for story or not. As long as you mention that you went there, you don't say like randomly, I was actually in India. Then you mentioned some problems with your friends, and you noticed how so you learned the yoga method, and then you noticed that your friends are experiencing some issues, right? Now, in this situation, I think it's great that you brought that up. But in this situation, it's important to mention what kind of issues.
Yeah.
Because again, as listeners, we have no idea what you're talking about. It could be, I don't know, that one girl split up with her boyfriend, or it could be that somebody got into an accident, or somebody is just worrying. I mean, we have no idea. So it would be really nice if you just you don't go into details, but just a couple of examples like this type of issues. And then you listen to those issues. You can say that, and kind of, it was a light bulb moment. Oh, but yoga can solve these things, or something like that, or meditation. And then you share that as well, and how you shared that with friends. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I really liked how you mentioned your personal experience as well when you went to yoga, you went to university and you started worrying about different things. And the part that I really liked when you were sharing was when you said that, oh, you should just let go. And when you said that, you changed your voice, and it was very beautiful. It was very calm. It was a totally different pace to the rest of the story. And you said several sentences like that. Oh, it's so easy. And it was truly beautiful, because it made me kind of want to experience that same feeling that you did. Like, oh, I want to just let go. I want it to be just easy. So that was really nice how you quoted your thoughts. Just like Mitesh quoted what his parents said, you quoted her thoughts rather than said, because you could have said, and I felt that it was easy. No, here you kind of just said, oh, it's so easy in present moment. And that was brilliant. Okay. So keep using those things. And then you said, it really helped the yoga to overcome these things, but you didn't say specifically how. You just said it helped. But what I want to hear is that you actually stating that And I stopped worrying or something like that. And my life, or like my university experience, became, I don't know, anxiety free, for example. Or whatever is suitable in your story. You don't just say it helped. Like, what was the result?
Right.
You could imply the result, but people might not get it.
Yeah.
And when you say that result, you can inspire people to want the same. So again, I mean, the reason we're practicing stories today is that not only is because stories have the power to inspire people and also connect with them very quickly. Instead of just giving a presentation, in a presentation, you don't connect. In a story, you connect quickly. And whether it is for this coming event or some event in future, every time you talk to people about yoga, you can mention this or parts of the story in your life, like throughout your life, and then get people to want to join yoga, for example. All right. But you have to say the result. What were you getting out of it? If I was to ask you right now, like, how would you describe it? How did it help you?
I think I still stress, I do.
Okay.
But like, it just, every day is a new day. And when you can sit down and you realize, oh, why was I thinking about it? So it's just giving yourself a break from things. I personally think I'm still learning. I'm still growing. So the result is constant.
Yeah.
There is no, how did it help so much? Like, I think I would not be here without, I would be in such a different state. I wouldn't be able to enjoy the little moments and just enjoy what I was doing. But I don't know, maybe just my way of how I think in general is very like it's like there's always more to learn, so that's why maybe it's hard for me to sort of say, because there definitely is like such a difference that I can't express it right now.
Hold on, you just did. I mean, you mentioned how you enjoy every moment. You mentioned a couple of things.
You
mentioned those.
Just a few. Okay, cool.
Even if you don't feel it's the final result, okay, those little results, because you're saying that it's improved your entire lifestyle. So then, okay, tell us how. Even those little things. Just
like having that routine of waking up, and instead of like, going on your phone or doing all that sort of stuff, you sit and you're actually in silence and you're with yourself. Because I know some people have mentioned to me that they don't want to be in silence because they don't want to be with their thoughts. They get overwhelmed by them. Whereas here, you can just sit, you can let your thoughts pass over you, and they pass, and then you enter a state where you don't have those thoughts and you're really, really at peace. So like, to not be afraid of yourself is so important. And that's like something that it gives as well, that you just see yourself for who you are, and you are this present state, not these worries or these thoughts and stuff, and you just are. Okay, I'm like going off on tangent, but anyway.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I really think that some of that could be part of the story, just to show that, okay, this is how it works. It's part of it. Because for a lot of people, it's alien. I mean, they want to know, they want to find out about yoga, but it's still, it doesn't click all the benefits and all how it really works and how it's really elevating the entire lifestyle rather than just occasional worries. So yeah, I think you could add that, absolutely. And to summarize, I loved how you ended the story with a lesson, this lesson that you learned, which is about elevating the entire lifestyle. I think that made your story stronger, and and also that way you shared your whole kind of point of the story. It's not about the occasional things; it's about your lifestyle overall. So I think that was very useful. Well done, you.
Okay. Thanks for the feedback.
Yeah, no worries. Now, I know I've been referring to this exact story, but then the principles apply to everything else, like to any other story or to any other thing that you do. So to summarize, the things that I mentioned here was giving people better understanding of the background, where you come from, who you are, not adding some details without, if they are not necessary. So for example, the India experience, either connected with everything or not, so applies to all other stories. Give examples, so precise examples of things that you're talking about so people can understand, like worries your friends were experiencing, and share more about your results and your findings in more details. That's kind of the overall summary.
Good reminder. Good reminder.
Okay. In terms of your body gestures and your voice, now it's tricky here because you are outside, and I bet you really wanted me to hear you and not to have the sounds from the background sounds. That's why you were holding the microphone like that. So I'm not going to comment on that. However, just in future, to be mindful, and that applies to everyone here, is that you want to be very careful with your hands next to the camera. Very careful. The reason being is because the camera, it makes your fist or your hand look bigger if it's closer to the camera, which is unproportional actually, if you see, and it's not very nice. So
that's a good tip.
In case you ever use hand gestures, you want to keep them kind of the same space, or like equally far from the camera as your face, so somewhere here and not here. Do you see the difference? Whether I say something like that or like that makes a big visual difference. So yeah, just a little comment about that. In terms of your voice, I just thought it was very genuine. I liked it. And I liked how you varied it, especially when you went in that mode where you calmed yourself down and you mentioned a couple of things. So I think in general, if you want to ever work on your voice, I suggest to challenge yourself to add even more variety sometimes and changing your kind of emotions and intonations a bit more. That would make the story even more engaging, but you don't have to. I liked it just like the way it was here. So it's up to you, but it's something you could, if you ever wanted to work on, you could work on that. Okay. All right. Any questions from your end about anything to do with presenting or, well, public speaking, virtual presenting? Anything you want to know?
No. Sorry, I'm sort of mind blank. I think, you've given a lot of useful tips, and I think let the other people go, because I think I don't have any questions.
All right, sure. Well, in case you do later on, we can, if we have some time at the end, we can, I'll take some questions if we still have the time. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I loved it. Especially, by the way, final thing, loved your smile. Loved your smile throughout.
Thank you so much, Diane.
No worries. So who would like to go next?
I'm happy to go next.
However, Prasad raised his hand first. So I don't know, guys, you decide who's going to go first.
Prasad, please.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello there. Are you ready to begin?
Yes, yeah.
Right. Let me restart the timer. Here you go.
Hello, my name is Prasad. I've been very fortunate in many ways because I was brought up with yoga. My parents practiced it, my friends practiced it, and from an early age, it was all that I knew. It was a means for me to experience joy, laughter, and many other things in a very pure manner. But as I grew up and experienced normal Western schools, I started to feel a lot of contradictions in myself that I couldn't quite understand or understand. The foundation for what I understood about yoga was, a lot of it was through my parents. And when they would argue or when they would come under conflict, I would question my own sense of yoga, because it was through them that I knew Saja Yoga, and that brought in me a lot of seeking, a lot of wondering what is it really, and who am I, and if we practice yoga at home in this way in the morning, and then I go to school and I experience this in the evening or afternoon, what is real? And so I was under this constant sense of conflict and trying to understand what was the truth. But I remember one art class when I was doing something very simple. I was painting the leaves of a tree, and I remember experiencing a sense of peace that I would liken to meditation, because it was something I recognized, but it was something which really brought me into a sense of peace that no other physical activity really had done before. So I really could start to relate to art, and it was a way for me to express myself. It was a way for me to find comfort in the alienation of society or school that I often felt. I was quite a shy young boy, and I couldn't relate to the things that many of the other boys spoke about, in particular things like girls and so on. And so but I was seeking the truth, but I was seeking it in a scientific way. In the same way I was going about my art, I was going in a more realistic way. I couldn't understand how there could be such a thing as an absolute sense of truth in the world. For example, if you paint the details of a hand, of the palm, the details are never ending. You look inside one detail which goes further and further and further, and it never stops. And in the same way, I felt that truth could not be defined in an absolute manner. I thought it was never ending. There was never ending gray area. So this was something I kind of argued about with my parents a lot. And my dad in particular tried to sway me, but the more he tried, the more I resisted. And this was a kind of general relationship we had. But at some point I decided that enough was enough. I went to university. I decided to cut my ties with everything I knew about Saja Yoga, and I wanted to know the truth. So I decided to jump in the other end, the other extreme. And I had felt like I'd jumped into sinking sand, and I was just sinking everywhere. But I didn't, I wanted to, there was something inside me that had to know what it was, what was Saja Yoga, and who I was. And so I know I needed to experience this. And so having cut my ties, no one was trying to pressure me into anything. I decided to, I realized as well that nothing here that I was looking for could give me any kind of satisfaction. You go to clubs with your university friends, and it felt so artificial and definitely not satisfying my yearning for truth. So I just started to meditate in my flat by myself, and there I experienced the deepest sense of meditation that I can fathom, and it stilled my mind and calmed my thoughts and gave me an absolute sense of truth that I'd been yearning. And through that, I slowly started to come back to Saja Yoga, and it has affected me, my art, everything about my personality. Now, my art, I would say, is not so realistic, but more spiritual, in the sense that with a few brushstrokes, I tried to create the idea of an object, a tree, rather than trying to scientifically replicate its realism. And so it's really helped me a lot, and I hope you all can experience it. Thank you for listening.
Perfect timing as usual, and thank you so much. Wait, hold on. Oh, that's enough. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Please, guys, give Prasad a big round of applause for sharing his story, or maybe some emojis or something. Okay, I'm gonna put an emoji. Yay! Okay. All right. Thank you. Well, Prasad. So first of all, how to say your name correctly? I think I should have started with that.
Yeah, it's Prasad. It's correct.
Prasad. Okay. All right. How do you feel about the story and how you shared it?
Well, time seemed to run out very quickly, and there was a way that I wanted to end it that I felt was more wholesome, but I didn't have enough time really, and the things that I wanted to say just escaped me. So Yeah.
That's so right. I mean, that happens, absolutely. I'm guessing it's the first time sharing this type of story, like
No, I wouldn't say so. I mean, it's I've shared it to friends, but often after, deep, just one to one. So in a group setting, it's probably the first time. Yeah.
oh, okay, all right. Well, you've done a good job. Shalini, do you have a question, or was that one of your just encouragement emojis? Okay, got it. All right. All right. So you're saying about the ending that you could have made it better. Anything else that you feel, or maybe something that you did well that you noticed, or?
Well, I think specifying it to something like art was good, and taking them through that kind of journey where, you talk about how your understanding of art shifted was quite good. But I think there could have been more, it could have been more closely related to that. And I could have taken them more specifically on that journey rather than kind of going from family to art and this kind of thing. So I think being just more specific and taking them on that journey would have been probably more successful.
Okay. I don't know about that, honestly,
Okay.
because when you share anything, story, or any type of speech in front of people, you always want to think, who are those people? And how do they think? What do they want? How are they similar in some sense? And what will they be able to understand from my journey? And I'm not an expert, I might be wrong, but I think that going into more details about art might have not resonated with as many people as you wish, because some people don't understand art at all. So they would be thinking like, oh, what is happening there? So I think mentioning rather than going deep into it with a audience that's very mixed, it might have been, well, like just like you did, is a better way of doing it, just to make sure that there is nobody thinking like, oh, I have no idea what this person is talking about. Because your job as a storyteller, as a speaker, to make sure you connect to as many people as possible. And you do that by mentioning some problems, potentially, that many people experience, or maybe something that could unite, well, it's similar between you and them. Just like here we had the confidence mentioned, that's, something a lot of people lack. Or like we had the worries mentioned, that again, that's a lot of people can relate to. So you want to always think, okay, what other things I can mention so I cover as many people as possible. Okay.
Yeah.
As a thought. Now, let me see. But I thank you so much for sharing your experience. I think that your strongest thing and sharing this story, and maybe potentially anything else, is how expressive you are, and how many how you describe things. So for example, I even wrote down this sinking sand. I mean, it's something not many people would say, but I felt there was true beauty in how you were describing things like that. So I really, really like that. I would say that's your strong point. Keep it. Okay. In terms, would you like to hear some of my thoughts on what you could improve? Yeah. For me, number one thing would be to try to express more emotions. And I want to say something. I noticed a big difference between how you shared the story and the way you spoke to me after the story. After the story, you spoke to me with way more emotions than when you were sharing that monologue story. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But it shows that you can. But you did.
Yeah, I think when you're kind of talking about a story, it's not really, it's different when you're talking to a person. You're kind of recounting like kind of almost facts about your life in a way. I mean, there can be, it doesn't have to be. I mean, you can include people and so on, and that will change that. But when you're talking to someone, naturally, you kind of, I don't know, it's
possible. Sahaji, you're going or left? No, he's still here. Yeah, sure, no worries. Hope to see you sometime later. Bye-bye. By the way, guys, at the end of this, we still have a couple of more, well, 2 people to share, I think. 1 or 2. After this, I'll go quickly through presenting and virtual presenting. So a couple of tips. I'll also take any questions that you have at the end. So I recommend to stay till the end, even if your turn has passed, if you can. Okay. We'll try to keep this session. The idea 10:30, 11:30, 12. Well, the idea was no more than 2 hours for the session. So after that, I mean, well, we'll have to finish by then. Yeah. And sorry, Prasad, back to you.
So more emotionally expressive, and
I think that would be the number one thing. And if you can manage it, it will transform everything you say, your stories, your presentations, everything. I think if you just focus on that.
Yeah.
And now you mentioned something about it's because people are not there. Well, please tell me again that part. I was just distracted by the comment in the chat there. So why do you feel that when you were chatting to me, you were expressing more emotions, and then when you were sharing that story, you weren't? What was the reason?
When I'm talking to you, I'm talking to someone. But when I was talking, I wasn't talking to anyone because I actually couldn't see anyone, and I was kind of talking, and I could feel, you know, like they say, when you're thinking about something that happened, you turn towards a certain way. I could feel I was doing that, and I wasn't directly talking to an audience. I think that was really missing. Yeah.
When this is the answer to the question, then to my question, well, and that's how you can reverse it. Then you want to focus on speaking to somebody. And I know the black things are, well, the black squares don't help. By the way, my camera was turned on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But for some reason it was just on speaker mode, so I could only see myself, and the timer's humongous. I don't want to make any excuses, but yeah, that was
right. No, okay, no. Well, it's just something to be mindful of, and
yes.
There are different techniques that speakers and just anybody who's, well, speakers, I would say, people who do podcasts or YouTubers, what they do sometimes is that they attach something next to the camera. So for example, some go like just a smiley face or something, so they remember that they're speaking to the camera, to this person. Some go further and actually attach a photo of a certain person, so that every time they get distracted and starts talking to the kind of into the space, they're going to go back, look into the eyes of this person and keep on telling them. As a thought, you don't have to do that, but in case you ever feel that you start talking not to people but to a space, then you could do that. And by the way, I did feel that you were kind of talking into space. Apart from just the emotional side, it was a feeling I shared, like you're sharing to, I don't know, to the universe, but actually I want you to share to those 1,000 people listening to you. And one of the ways I realized that is your eyes also. They started looking up a lot. When you were sharing. You don't want that. People notice it and they break that connection with you. They don't feel so emotionally engaged because they don't feel you're talking to them. I know it might be tricky, but it's absolutely possible. Yeah. Okay. To me, that was the number one thing. And what's encouraging me is that I can see that you can express those emotions. You just need to kind of direct them at people. Any thoughts about that? Do you think how do you think you could work on that?
Well, I know it's something that I need to improve on because I had a very short experience in acting, and that was a point that came up often. So
really?
Yeah, it is. But I think it's kind of just having an audience that you're directing what you're saying towards. So I think, I kind of felt that would be could possibly be a thing. But I think, again, as Shalini said earlier, having that presentation that you've practiced, and then having that clear audience and knowing your audience and directing everything towards that, as you say. So no, it's a really a good point. Now that you mention it, I feel like
Well, I'm glad it resonates. And the thing is, I'm gonna have to warn you that it will be hard on the event, because they mentioned there will be no cameras. So it will be super easy to just kind of tell the universe instead of, and it's hard for me as well when I don't see faces, really hard.
Yeah.
But it's just something you're gonna have to keep in your mind. And every time you notice that you're not imagining a person you speak to, you imagine that person. Maybe you imagine a face of one of your colleagues, like you're telling them, or that picture or something that works for you that will bring attention onto people.
The key word is, you're not telling your story, you're telling it to someone, your story to someone. And just emphasize that.
That's absolutely right. Yeah. Any questions from your end, or anything you want to know about?
I mean, that's a really important and strong point, and I think it's enough for me to kind of really work on and think about. And
Okay. One more thing about body language.
Yes.
Where is your camera? Like, how? It's interesting because your face is not directed at me; it's directed there.
Because I'm looking at you on the side.
Okay, right. That's why. Okay.
I can look at the camera then, because otherwise, I'm talking to you, so I'm looking at you, the little pop-up screen on the side.
Understood. Okay. Yeah. Fine. But then when you present, you look in the middle, because you also looked in the corner sometimes. Okay. All right. That's much better. Perfect. But you know what I do? I actually move those little squares into the middle. So right now you're in the middle of my screen and I'll look at you.
Okay.
I kind of moved you there. It's easier. But anyways. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have Shalini left. That's number 4. Mitesh is done. Anjani, are you going to share with us anything today, or?
No, I'm sorry. I'm not in the setting where I can do that, but I'm enjoying listening. Sorry about that.
No problem. And okay, and the other people have left, right? So I think we're only left with Shalini, right?
I think so.
Okay. All right. Well, Shalini, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I'm going to just change the spotlight thing, because just 1 second.
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna remove pin from Prasad here. Ready when you are?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I can't actually see it, but I don't know how to. Yes, it's all right.
I can remove spotlight. And what you can do for yourself is that you can pin me if you want, and then you'll be seeing me when you share, if this is any easier for you. You don't have
to see everyone on the side and not on the top.
But
I can imagine you as sitting in the front and not see you on the side.
Sure. Are you ready to start?
Yes.
Go for it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shalini. I live in England, Oxford. I'm a research oncologist, and today I'm here to share my story about how I started meditating and how it has been. So, by profession, I'm a research oncologist, and I've been in this profession for a long time. And today I want to take you back to early 90s, when I just finished my medicine, and while working in the rural area, I developed vocal cord paresis, which means I lost 80% of my voice. And that time I had to come back to my hometown, which is in north of India. And I also was going through some family personal issues. So overall, it was not a great time. My family did introduce me to Sahaj Yoga, but I was like absolutely skeptical. Being a physician, you don't want to just start something which is told by your parents, and you don't kind of make sense. And at that young age, I was very young. So perhaps I got influenced by one person who explained to me a bit scientifically, and I started following. It transformed me within few days. I got my voice back, my skin changed. I felt very peaceful. But after a few days, I realized that I wanted to understand like what exactly it is. Okay, I feel now good, and I moved to Mumbai, and I got introduced to another meditator who told me that actually it's a spiritual path. So, of course, we meditate every day, but the real impact of Kundalini awakening and thoughtlessness, once you start seeing the reflection of that thoughtlessness in your life, like, more joyous and more content and confidence. And of course, I needed all those byproducts in my life. And I started observing myself more, and I started giving some target to myself. Like, for example, this week, I'm not going to react on anything and things like that. And I think that made me feel absolutely free. I felt different, a treasure in my heart that I had never discovered. And I also had the chance to go to like hundreds of schools to teach about cancer to kids. And I also got permission from schools to talk to them about meditation at the end. And I started learning how stressful these little kids are, at that age. And I just wanted to help people. Whatever I did in my hospital, 10 Monday to Friday, but in my remaining time, I just felt I need to connect to people and I need to help them the way I got help. Like, in medical science, there is no cure for vocal cord paresis. And it may take years. And I got cured like anything. It's so quick without any treatment. It's been 28 years and it's been a beautiful journey. And I do interact with young people and I say, younger the better. As you start meditating, so what happened? It's not about feeling peaceful, joyous, and all the things that we are talking about, but it's about the inner treasure that nobody actually ever introduces us. All our life, we are living with identities, or identity of being a sister, a mother, or a daughter, or an employee. And all those identities affect us in many other ways. Sometimes we are happy with one identity and other identity may be, fulfilling us. But in reality, we have the treasure that make us fulfilled all the time, even when we are facing challenges. And I must say, I'm so thankful to Shri Mataji, who is the founder of Sahaj Yoga. I listen to her talks like 5 minutes and I try to follow what she's trying to say. And of course, meditation and some tools that Shri Mataji has given and Sahaj Yoga has given. But other than that, I think the transformation, when you start admiring yourself, when you start seeing that how beautiful we all are, and you start seeing the beauty in others as well. It's been 18 years in England and I've never stopped meditating. I try to be connected to children and to people, as others said, that it's a treasure that we all want to share with everybody. This world is in turmoil, and why not we share it? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you for sharing your story. Well done, you. Very, very beautiful. Loads of treasure sharing there. How do you feel about it?
Yes, I felt that 5 minutes were not enough.
You wanted to talk more? That's a good thing.
Yes. I could have maybe framed in a way that is simplified for people. I don't know what I experience and the language I use, like the spirit and the treasure. Maybe it's not that easy for a person who has never heard or experienced it, And thirdly, I feel that I could have given more practical solutions to them.
Like what?
Like how to, so from my own experience, I feel there is no concept in the world to introspect, for example, we are not taught to self-reflect and introspect and make some changes in our lives on a regular basis. So I have done it, and it has impacted, and that is what has helped me. Like very strategically, even now, like, 30 years, 28 almost years of my life meditating, but I still use tools to see where do I need to make more changes in my life. I just don't want to be satisfied with my calmness and joy and confidence and feeling secure. There is much more to life. It could be, I need to just enjoy more, and I need to do some more courses, but that doesn't reflect, that doesn't happen unless you use some tools. So I think maybe I did not talk about tools.
Okay. Honestly, I don't know if you needed to. I mean, I think for me, the story was clear. Yes, I noticed that it felt, so there was a big difference in the way people told stories here. And I would say in your case and in Prasad's case, your stories were more abstract, with the describing feelings, describing emotions, describing state. And then everybody else's story was more, I'm not sure how to say, kind of realistic, more down to earth in a sense. I'm not saying one is better than another. It's just the style of describing it. And this is what you did. Obviously, with abstract stories, you want to be very sure that people can understand that concept you're trying to tell people. In this case, well, I might not know for 100% what treasure you mean, but honestly, I wanted to experience it by the end. And I think that's probably the point of the story, to make me want to experience that treasure, right? So as long as you keep it to a minimum amount of abstract concept, I think that keeps it okay. So yeah, but yeah, I was super curious to find out this treasure for myself, maybe. Okay. Would you like to hear some of the feedback I've got here for you?
Yes, please. Thank you.
So I loved how you started with your background, kind of introduced yourself, and now we know who you are, easier to relate to as people who never met you. So that's brilliant. Now, you mentioned how I believe meditation helped you overcome that voice thing that you had. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I believe that part could have been expressed better, because if you're talking about an event as serious as what you mentioned about your voice, now I've never heard of this condition before, but it sounds very serious, but it started sounding serious to me closer to the end of the story, when you referred back to it and you said, oh, you can't cure it just like that, and I cured it like that. Now, that should have been mentioned in the beginning, because people don't have no idea what it is unless they personally experience or know family members. They wouldn't know. So you want to explain to them, okay, what this condition is about a little bit, not in detail. Like, it means that I couldn't do X, for example, and then you have to state that it's something that you can't just cure like that. I mean, it's something that people need, I don't know, X amount of sessions to cure, for example. Super important. This makes us understand how important what you're thinking or what you're talking about, and also connect with you, because we start feeling a bit sorry for you. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, because it's just where people, when we hear problems, we start feeling emotional, and it's a good thing in a story. And then when you mentioned the meditation, honestly, when you mentioned it for the first time, I didn't hear you notice it. I know you did, but it was this one word in this quick sentence that I later understood that you must have said meditation. So when you have some very important moments in your story, you want to make sure it's super clear, and you slow down. You emphasize on the word, and then I decided to try meditation. Full stop, couple of seconds of silence, just to make sure that this is what you tried and this is what helped you. Okay. So that felt like it was an important thing. And then you also want to, so again, you kind of skipped, like you mentioned that all so fast that you didn't show, I feel that you didn't tell me how impressed you were with the results. Because again, it's a big thing. And if it's a big event in your life, you want to spend more time talking about it. And if it's something that's less important, you talk about it less. So in this case, I would have loved it if you shared your feelings after you got the results. Like, oh, I could finally, I don't know, speak, for example, or whatever it is. It felt so amazing. It felt so liberating. I can't describe you how happy I was. When you tell those things, we start feeling happy for you. But when you say I had a problem and it got resolved, we don't care. But like you say, it was a big problem. You describe how big, how serious it was, how it made you feel. And then you describe how you overcame it and how that made you feel. We are listening full ears, and we just want to, we want to support you. We want to be happy for you. We want to be sad for you. We want to be with you, okay, as audience. So I think that would be like the number one thing to focus on, not to skip important parts, especially emotional ones. And other than that, actually, I really liked the rest. I mean, I liked how you were inquiring, okay, I wanted to know more, and you mentioned your experience of finding out more about it. I think it was very, very useful. And equally, when you started referring to the treasure, although it wasn't 100% clear to me what you were referring to, as I said, you made me feel as if I want to experience it too and want to understand meditation more. So I think it worked out, at least on me. So thank you so much for sharing your experience. I really loved it. And so I'm trying to find your conclusion. I think, which I liked as well. Yeah. You said it's not, okay, I didn't find the whole thing, sorry. But there was a good conclusion there as well. You said it's more than, okay, you remind me, what did you say? It's more than something, it's a bigger thing. And I really like that, but I forgot more than what.
As well.
Doesn't matter. Okay. But it's nice when you have a strong conclusion, which you did. And I like that it's about a bigger thing rather than a couple of worries to overcome or something.
Actually, my true conclusion, I mean, I'm just talking to you, is also that the way I was helped, everybody needs help.
Okay.
People don't, on the surface, you don't understand anything. But as you get friendlier to a person, you can really transform their life if you have something beautiful to share. And I'm glad people shared with me,
Okay.
Yes. And when I speak to young people, when I go to schools, I always say to them, wish I had started meditating when I was a medical school student. Younger, the better.
Yeah. Okay.
And it is not about meditation and feeling relaxed. That's a very easy byproduct. It's about transformation.
Here you go. That's the type of thing you were talking about. Yes, that I was looking for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Makes sense. It's brilliant.
It's been amazing. It's been an amazing journey today. Like, I've never been on such a session, and just getting your feedback for all the speakers have actually made me realize so much. And it's something that I would like to learn, really.
Oh, thank you. Because when you said it's amazing, I was sure you're still talking about yoga.
No, I shifted from myself to you and to the session. It's been amazing.
Oh, I'm glad to hear. Do you have any questions or anything you want to address? I mean, in terms of your personal experience with presenting?
Yes, I have a question. So, when somebody asks you to give a story, then they go through their whole story. They can either pick one part, like I could have picked just introducing myself, picking a story about how I came into Sahaj Yoga, how my health improved and it transformed me, and I've been meditating and helping everybody. That's just short and sweet. No, it's a skill, I think, storytelling, and it all depends on what message and how you want to convey to whom.
Brilliantly summarized. That's absolutely right. Well, where is your question?
So my question to you is, instead of me going into such a long story, I could have just picked a shorter version of it and
You
gone.
absolutely could.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. So the way you want to, in general, like when you use the skill of storytelling, which is absolutely a skill, and just like you mentioned, it's something people learn. First thing, before even telling the story, that I didn't mention today because that wasn't part of the exercise, but the first thing is to think about those people who are there. Okay, who are they? And what do I want them to learn? One thing, not 10 things. And the answer is not about, the answer can't be, I want them to learn my experience with yoga. That's not what you want them to learn. That's how you're going to get them to learn, by sharing a story. A story is a tool to convey a message. It's like,
Yes.
Like a great example is chocolates, little chocolates, let's say you've got a box of little chocolates. You're not gonna just give those chocolates to people. Probably you would like them wrapped nicely, and that's how you give them as a gift, right? Now, the chocolate, what's inside that chocolate is your message, the thing that you want people to understand. But the wrapper is that the story. It's a method in which you are conveying that message. So a message is normally something very simple. Normally it's one sentence. So in your case, examples of such things could be, I want people to understand that yoga or meditation can elevate their, feeling of self-worth. For example, this could be a message. And then, so you thought about the people, you thought what thing you want them to understand. Then you think, what story would best suit me to deliver that message? In what shall I wrap this message? Because if I just tell them straight, okay, yoga, meditation elevates your self-esteem, that means nothing to them. They're like, okay, I heard that before. But then you put it in a story, they're like, oh, it elevates my self-esteem. Maybe I should consider yoga, And here, as a storyteller, you have to be very careful, like you mentioned, about selecting the experiences you want to share. Because if you share your life story, they're not going to get that message. You only want to select the things that help people understand that message, if that makes sense.
Makes sense. Absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry. No, just one more thing. And with stories, the way you craft a story is you center it around a conflict. So you want to make sure what you want to find in your experience, a problem that you were overcoming or somebody was overcoming. And that problem has to be the center of the story, like in the middle, and it's the thing you talk the most about. Just like I mentioned to you earlier, I want to hear more about your feelings and experiences with that thing. That's the thing you want to have in the middle of the story. If you notice with movies, that's exactly what they do. There is like some sort of problem the character is trying to overcome all the time. You'd never see movies where everything is good, everything is fine. It's a boring movie. You want to make sure there is a problem, and you want to make sure you spend most of the story talking about it. A little bit you share about the pre-story, kind of your background and stuff, who you are, and a little bit at the end, kind of a summary and things like that, your thoughts, maybe your call to action. But most of the story, you talk about that problem, how you overcame it. That's what draws people's attention. And that's what later makes it super clear for people what message you were trying to say. And if you want to make sure the message sticks, just like I mentioned to Mitesh, at the end, you say the message again, just to make sure, because people can understand things differently. But here you want to direct their attention. This is what I want you to understand from the story. And later, when they will be thinking about that message in future, they'll be associating it with your story, which is what you want.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for this really amazing feedback.
Yeah, no worries. Now, before we go, I wanted to very quickly, with those of you who are left here, to make sure that you are ready in terms of the way, how presentable you are and how you look on the camera. super quick, super easy. Now, Mitesh, you don't even need to listen. You're fine. You're good. But yeah, so the trick is, you want to make sure that your face, actually, you all sat very well. Sahaja, you could actually slightly improve your camera positioning, but in general, you want to make sure that the camera is parallel to you. You don't want the camera from below you or from above you. If it's from above you, I mean, you don't want to see that, and you don't want to see my double chin. That's not nice. Make sure it's parallel. To do that, I know lots of people are joining from laptops. Well, you know what I do when I have nothing but the laptop? I put a shoebox underneath it, or some books, to make sure that I can keep the parallel thing. And you want to make sure that the camera, if you do like that, exactly at your eye level. The reason it's important is because if you're looking at people like that, you make them, you look like you're important and they're not. Like this, you are looking up to them. You want to be equal. So camera level like that. In terms of how much space you take on the camera, this is kind of, well, Shalini, yours is perfect. Your guy's all perfect right now. So you want just a small gap over there. You want to make sure you're in the middle, just like that. Use of hands, up to you. You don't want to use hands, don't use hands. You want to use hands, feel free to, as long as you make sure that they are somewhere here. Don't make them close to the camera because they may get bigger. And this is a not natural position for hands. So it's something that you learn when you present. In real life, my hands are normally here. You don't see them. If you want to show hands, you hold this unnatural position, but this is what you do. And close to you, yeah. What else? And finally, I think the lighting. You want to make sure the light comes from this end, not from there. Otherwise, you're going to be dark on the photo. Now, ideal lighting would be, so coming in your direction, and it would be not like a concentrated light, but a dispersed light. So gray source of light is natural light, but obviously that depends what time you're doing it. But in general, if you have a window there, generally it gives you a good lighting, as long as you don't have the situation where you only have light from the back or only from a side of your face. So for example, I can show you my natural setting is actually like that. And I have this is my natural, like if I just sit, this is how you see me. Do you see the difference of my face? Didn't it look much better other way around? That's because I have got lights here. Now, in my case, I have professional lights, but they don't need to be professional lights. And even simpler, here I am in front of a window, already better than like that. Do you see? Also with your background, if you have loads of things and mess, like I kind of do, it's best, of course, to use the blur background option, just like Mitesh is doing there. You don't want people to look what you've got there, or like you've got a messy bed, or you've got some. Oh, in your case, Shalini, by the way, in your case, your background was good. It's very plain. There is nothing to hide. But some people literally have their beds behind them, very often not made up. And you're just like, dude, come on. Yeah, those are the main things. With the microphone, it's better if you just test it. In my case right now, I'm just using a laptop microphone. However, for meditations, you might want a deeper voice sometimes, and some microphones are better at picking that up. I'm not saying it's compulsory, but if you want, you can test between the team just how your voice sounds, just to make sure you don't get this really high-pitched voice, because some microphones do change voice, not in a nice way, and you don't want that. But yeah, those are the main things to know. Any questions about that? Yeah. But honestly, you all look really good. So, yeah. Oh, Vikram, you're on mute.
So one question, if we got a rather small window, like 5 minutes, to talk. So the question really is within 5 minutes, what is that we can do to engage? Really, we cannot engage with everyone, but give that impression that we are that open lot. We are the one who going to listen to you, be patient with you. How do we convey that message in just the 5 minutes we have? Rest of the time is really all meditation.
So just for me to understand, so you've got 5 minutes, right? And in this 5 minutes, you want to tell people what? That they can contact you, or what do you want to tell them? Sorry.
So this 5 minutes is really the story time, telling about you, who we are, and why we're doing this program, how it can help them in their life. Okay. And then once we're done with this telling about this program, then we move on to, okay, now this is what we do today. So get into posture and let's follow instructions. So then we get into the meditation mode. But the small time we have in the beginning is rather limited. Okay. In fact, last time we did not even, I don't even think anyone made any attempts to kind of open up the heart of the people in. So when I do session, of course, we are small number of people, like 50. I just pick up a couple of folks here, how are we doing, and kind of thing, just to warm up this group. Okay. Otherwise, people are very stoned out, so they're just kind of looking at the screen. We don't know where their attention is. Okay. I pick up 1 or 2 random enthusiastic people in the participants and make them speak up just a little bit. And that's all I have, because then I have got to start things in time. So what is that we can do with it? If I don't have time for storytelling, I got 5 minutes. I want to talk to people, I want to do storytelling, whatever I want to do. What would be a recommendation for the 5 minutes that we have?
And the what you want is to connect with people and get them engaged. Is that what you want?
That's the idea. We want them to pay attention to the session, because my feeling is people don't evaluate meditation, they evaluate us. Okay. So 5 minutes is the time where they judge about us. Are these the right guys to be with for next 21 days? How do I make that impression so that they are interested to stay with us? At least complete that session. And that's good. If they have a good experience for meditation, they might come back.
Totally. Well, let me just, now I don't like your face at all like that. Yes. So actually, I know we have been practicing 5-minute storytelling, but stories can be told in 3 minutes and in 2 minutes and even in 1 sentence. Now, the power of the one told in 1 sentence versus the power of the one told, well, at least 3-4 minutes is obviously different, because in 1 sentence, you won't be able to emotionally connect, just like we were talking about this, like how you talk about your problems and things like that. But it's absolutely possible to cut those stories that we heard from 5 minutes to, say, 2 to 3. It's absolutely possible. You just want to spend a bit of time just looking at that, actually writing a script potentially, and literally just crossing out everything that's not so important. So as I said, like, focus on that problem. That's what's important. Focus on your feelings. You want to share feelings and you want to share problems in that story. This is how you connect. And so my answer is probably the fastest way to connect with those people would be to use a story, but you just want to reduce the story. My personal thinking about that, because if you want them to want to hear from you rather than from somebody else, that would be the thing. Having said that, there are other ways as well. So part of it is being a good presenter, I think, and a presenter who is able to engage people. So I know you mentioned that you try to get people to talk a little bit and things like that. I mean, I don't know, I haven't been to your sessions, but it's absolutely possible to do it in a good way where people start getting engaged. It's absolutely possible. What we do at our sessions is that we always start all our sessions 5 minutes late, but we tell people to come early. So that way we have the time to chat to various people. Very often we ask them to unmute their camera, their microphones and cameras, and to actually respond to us. Things we ask, something very simple. Hey, how are you today? How is your day going? Or like, how did you find out about the session? Or like, why did you come here today? Why did you come is probably one of the most powerful ones, just because loads of people want to share their whys, and then they start feeling like, oh, we're here for a similar goal and things like that. So that's another way if you don't want to talk, but you want them to talk. What else? Well, I think those are the two things. And ideally, if you could even combine those methods, that would be ideal. Yeah.
Got it. I mean, my concern on this storytelling is indeed the great part, but I think there has to be some outward looking, paying attention to you. Like, I had my story, but I'm sure Diana, Prasad, Shalini, you have your own stories of your life. And I'm sure that you could do even better than me. So some kind of emotional pitch to kind of uplift them. Should we engage in some of that rhetoric like politicians do, right? I know we can be a better version of ourselves. We can make this country great, Can we do some of the rhetoric talks in the beginning? Do you think that helps?
Well, you can write a little speech, short speech, less than 5 minutes long, where the idea is to again inspire and motivate people to join your group or to start meditating. Yeah, it's absolutely possible. But you just want to, well, it's best if you do something like that. Maybe you could do it as a team, or maybe somebody could do it and present it in front of the team just to get their opinions on that little speech. Because, well, you want it to be any speech, you want to think, what do you want to achieve with it, right? So you want to make sure that it is an inspiring one. And a lot of orators, so people who are very good at public speaking, they actually incorporate stories in what they do, including politicians, including, like, I don't know, Barack Obama. If you notice, he starts with a story and then he tells his political agenda. And a lot of American politicians, that's exactly how they do it. And that's how they kind of, so if you think Martin Luther King, he was telling an imaginary story, that's how he imagines the future. So that's also a story. So personally, I would still point back to storytelling just because it's just a more proven thing, but it doesn't mean that you can't have that inside, or I don't know.
Right. The only problem which I face is, that people are not so attentive. So, we try also to chat something, as I just said, tell us why you're here, and then, then probably people can type it up. So kind of get them engaged in a very small window, so then, everyone feels connected, give them an activity, and then, okay, everyone done some activity and they feel connected. Okay, now get on to, the guided meditation part.
Yeah, it's brilliant. You can, for example, either ask everybody to just engage in the chat, or you can even ask people to unmute their microphones, just in a sentence or something, or two, just say who they are, why did they come, and then everybody who doesn't have the time to answer within those 5 minutes can send something in the chat, like where they're joining from, something very simple, because you don't want them to write long paragraphs. They're not going to do that, but something simple. And then you acknowledge it. So everything that they wrote in the chat. So for example, let's say, okay, so Shalini, thank you for your comment. Or like Mitesh, so, welcome from, I don't know, welcome to UK, or like to London, or wherever Mitesh is from. So like you acknowledge everything that people wrote in the chat in a positive way, so they know that they don't just write into space, they write and you are connected with them and you see them.
Right. So then one last thing. Sometimes the audience are just dead. Okay, absolutely stoned out, no reaction, nothing. I can put up a song and dance, do cha-cha-cha, still no response. So, tell us a few tips how to get them into life.
Are the cameras all turned off as well?
Yeah, initially they're turned on for briefly, and then we ask them to turn off. They do that during meditation. But then after that, they never come back to life. So.
Start very intensely, start a conflict, and then
you can ask them something. Ask them and wait for the reply. Actually wait. And then if they don't answer, I'll start calling people's names. No, like it's a good way to bring back attention, because all this point they're like nothing was required from them. They're just like sleeping or doing whatever, and then suddenly a question and you're expecting their input. if they're not all, I don't know, walking and listening to you like they, or driving or something, if some of them are actually physically able of responding, then I think some people will respond. Well, at least you can try. And then if they don't, you just don't focus on too much. Just like go to the next point. Don't emphasize that, oh, nobody has replied, it's a failure. Just like, okay, whatever, like as if you don't hear so much, because you don't want to make it look like you're failing. You're just like, okay, well, so nobody wants to share anything today. All right, let's go to the next point then, or something. Just
like I say, okay, I guess everyone's thoughtless by now.
I was just saying that I thought humor would be a good.
Yeah.
I thought humor would be really good, because humor is really good to diffuse certain things. And I like your point about calling out people's names. It's not that you're trying to put them on the spot, but some people are hesitant speakers. And once they start going, then they do enjoy speaking, and maybe they just need a prompt from us.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe that exercise in the beginning, when you ask the people to chat, maybe that will get them used to the idea that they might chat, because it might be weird to people if you suddenly, in the middle of the presentation, ask them to chat, but before that, they were always silent and that was not expected from them. So they get used to the format from the beginning, like, okay, you want engagement and interactivity. So you want to make sure that is in the first part of the meeting so they get involved.
I like the point you mentioned that we don't realize, I mean, just saying from experience, that the way we take sessions in Sahaj Yoga sometimes, we are delivering something, we are giving them, and the expectations from the beginning is it is we to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the middle of the session, audience are already have set the expectations, as you said, it is from them to us, not from us to them. So if we expect that at the end, then already they're used to listening to us and not saying anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah,
that's an interesting point that you said. Yes.
Sorry, I'm just gonna. Oh, sorry.
Mitesh's point as well. Yeah, humor is definitely a thing to try. It's just some people really struggle. I mean, presenters, not everybody feels that they're funny. So it shouldn't be an expectation from them. But if you can, definitely try to say something funny. It'll definitely work to your advantage. Absolutely. Sorry, was it Anjani? Did you want to try?
Yes, sorry,
Yeah.
I am still alive. I just wanted to say, I think someone might have mentioned it earlier, but that having them talk to each other before. So what has worked for me previously is actually not let them talk in front of everyone, but in little breakup rooms. So they actually get to know some of each other, because people are shy to speak in front of other people and they feel observed, and it's not easy. Like, I mean, alone, you know, we clearly are kind of confident to talk, but still struggle in many bits. So to suddenly put them on the spot and make them speak in front of everyone is difficult. But if they feel like they know people a bit better, they're a bit less shy, maybe. But yeah, not always a possibility to make breakout rooms, but if there is, or if you're in a session, like in a live session, it's always nice to just put them in groups of 4 or 5 and just talk about anything, just to talk, you know, like give a very, very simple, you know, question, just and let them talk on about something, whatever they want, just so they talk and get used to it. Yeah, that was it.
Brilliant idea. Absolutely, definitely. Because when you put them in groups, especially you don't want to put, by the way, interesting thing, if you have a lot of people, you might not want to put them in groups of 2 or even 3 sometimes. You want to see how many people have attended, because some of them would be not present. It's just like that's a normal state of people online. So you want to make sure you put them in groups big enough that somebody would share, but then not too big that they'll feel like they're speaking in front of a lot of people. But yeah, excellent point with the groups. Absolutely.
It's good to see
right.
you.
I think, sorry.
Yeah,
you're on mute.
Sorry, I said I'm in the middle of the hallway. It's bad setting, I know, and bad
camera.
It's
fine. You're excused.
I just thought I'd say hi before it's over. I also wanted to ask, can this be shared? I missed some bits, just audio-wise, but I heard it's being recorded.
Yeah, I got the YouTube link.
Okay.
I share with you, Anjani.
Thank you very much.
It's in North America online group. You can pick up from there.
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
Okay, I guess if you have no other questions, you can let Diana go if we have overextended her hospitality. So, Diana,
Thank you
and
so
we
much for inviting.
and we'd like to welcome you to the 21 days program. I'll send you a link.
All
Okay.
right.
And we look forward to see you. And in fact, I'll do that right now. Anybody else have any closing thoughts? Although we're supposed to be thoughtless, but still.
I just wanted to say, Diana, I found you to be incredibly engaging, and you were so patient listening to every single person's story. And when we were talking, you actually genuinely felt like you were taking note, interest, and that's really special. So I just want to say thank you to that.
Thank you very much. It's my job. Thank you very much. It's nice to hear.
And Diana's not even charging for that. So for a free session, the amount of interest she's giving us is amazing.
Yeah, but then Vikram is also really helping us with something else. So I'm also very thankful to Vikram. So that's how it works. But yeah, no, thank you so much. It was really nice to meet you all. And seriously, I loved your stories. I loved how you're sharing. Like, I never know what to expect in sessions like that, because some people have very poor skill of public speaking, in which case, of course, I can help them a lot, but it's like they're not going to get there very quickly. But all of you have already started in a good place, and there are just a couple of tweaks that you can improve to make yourselves even better. So there is nothing to worry about, no matter how many people are in front of you, because you're already good. I'm telling you, as a professional trainer, you're already good. Just improve a couple of extra things to become even better. But yeah, you're already good. So thank you so much for sharing all your stories.
Thank you.
And then I put the Zoom link just for you in case you want to attend. It's 7:45 p.m. GMT every day, starting 25th of February.
Oh, in the chat. Got it. All right. Thank you.
All right.
I'm going to say
Thank you.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely Sunday.
You too.
Mitesh,
Everyone.
if you'd like to
Thank you,
say
Vikram,
that
for
for me.
organizing it.